All
Hi,
right.
good
Been
evening,
anointed.
everybody. Terry Daniel and Rob Marley with you tonight to talk all things voiceover and also your favorite winter recipes when it's minus 15 degrees in the Twin Cities metropolitan area. Why am I talking like a radio broadcaster? Well, we're gonna
Because
teach you
it's
how to
so
not
easy.
sound like a radio broadcaster. Let's give everybody a couple of minutes, Cassie, to get into the room, and then we'll begin our lovely presentation on finding your voice, how to start a voiceover business the right way. We're living in an era where there's 100 social media platforms, and you're getting information out one ear, out the other from all the different platforms, some wonderful information and some really bad information. So we're going to set the record straight once we begin the presentation and just kind of give you the blueprint of what's worked for Rob and myself. I've had over 35 years of experience. I came from theater and radio. And Rob, why don't you give us a real quick synopsis of your background, and then
I okay.
we'll begin.
An audio engineer and a sound man for bands and stuff for many years, and worked a lot of stage shows and
How
stuff.
about were
And
you, did you work for these guys?
that was actually my first concert I ever went to, was Men at Work at the Greek
Oh,
Theater in
that's
LA.
oh my God, that's awesome.
So no, I got into voiceover a while ago because I was working for all the companies I was working for needed a voiceover for whatever, and I would always volunteer. And I just decided I'm going to start doing this on my own, and so I
We reached out to
built
the
it up.
Duval GOP for comment, but they were not able to provide us with the statement. The proposed bill still has to go through all of the various committees before it could even
Charles,
come.
Charles, mute your audio. It's nice to hear the news, though.
Business owner is on a stretch of
Sorry, Terry, I accidentally muted you trying to
I got
get
it.
others muted.
Charles, come on, man, get with the program. Oh, Terry's muted.
Yeah, I accidentally muted him, was trying to get the other thing muted. Sorry.
There we go. There we go.
Here we go. All right, let's just start over, should we?
No. Let's just keep
All
going.
right. So towards the end of the presentation, you guys, we're going to do some Q&A. But if you have questions that you want to ask during the presentation, that's totally cool. Cassie will be kind of gathering them, and then at the very end, we'll kind of go through them, and you can even ask one live if you'd like. But definitely keep your mics muted until the very end. And you'll see the chat area just to the side of the Zoom here. Let us know where you're from, where you're watching from, and where you're listening from. We'd like to hear about that as well. So one moment here, and we are going to get to the presentation. All right. So let's begin. So this is all about finding your voice, an introduction to voiceovers. Again, Rob and I, between the two of us, have like decades of experience in voiceover, and we learned a lot. We hit our heads against the wall for many years. We've had a lot of success after that, and something, we learned the hard way about this business, which back in the 80s, by the way, you had to have a demo on a cassette, and the only way to really get work was through a talent agent, because there wasn't, you couldn't get jobs off the internet. And sending an MP3 to a potential client in somewhere in Ireland was impossible. But now it's like you could work from the comfort of your own home and work with anybody in the globe. So we're going to start the presentation. Let's begin, shall we? All right. Making the decision to do it, right? Everybody thinks about everybody thinks about following a passion, right? But when actually taking that first step is sometimes challenging, especially if you're in a comfortable day job, or you tend to get insecure, like I still do, and you just don't really know if it's the right thing to do. But just it's, first of all, it's a huge step making the decision to do voiceover, and it's also an enormous step that all of you guys are here. This is actually a step because you're passionate about learning more about the voiceover industry. So making the decision to do VO is very, very important. Now, step two, conduct thorough research. Oh my goodness, we are living in the land of of truth and misinformation all mixed in one bowl. So you really have to do your research and just find out if this is really kind of something that you want to do. The voiceover business is not a quick fix if you just lost your job. It's not a quick cash grab. We get emails all the time from people. It's like, I just lost my job. I got to make a bunch of money real fast. This is not the profession to do it. It's going to take a lot of perseverance. It's going to take a lot of patience, and you really have to work at it. And so you know, when we got started, Rob, we didn't have all these resources where we can do research. In fact, there was nothing. I've occasionally I would see an ad in like the local newspaper for like a voiceover coach, and I didn't really know anything or where to go to find the right information. I mean, when you made the transition from radio to VO, did you work with a couple of coaches when you first started?
Well, I was never in radio specifically. I never on the air or anything like that. I was mostly in TV production. But when I first started doing it, I thought I knew everything there was to know about voiceover. Because I'd been doing VO for the businesses I'd worked for. And so I'm like, I know how to do this stuff. And so I created my own demo and sent it out to a bunch of talent agents and never heard back. And that continued for a while until I realized, hey, wait, I don't know everything there is to know about this. And so I started seeking out coaching and slowly but surely kind of built up my skills, because that's really what's involved, is learning the skills that you need to be a voice artist. Anybody can talk into a microphone, but to do it in a way that convinces people to buy a product or to be emotionally connected to what you're talking about, that's the kicker. And you don't learn that on your own.
And honestly, learning the skills is such an integral part of having success. It's very easy to get caught up in recording gear and finding. I mean, obviously that's an important part of the process too, but I've seen people kind of do things in reverse, where they'll go spend just thousands and thousands of dollars on a home studio, and then they won't get any coaching on commercial narration or character work. And then their $2,500 Neumann U87 microphone is collecting like 3 inches of dust per day because they're not booking, because they have no idea how to read a script. So I would highly recommend, if this is something that you're truly serious about, definitely working with a coach. I mean, think about how many different industries where there's coaching: sports, music, SEO experts, search engine optimization, you name it. I mean, it's just like the chances of success are far greater when you have a mentor at your side. And with voiceover, it's really important to have that second set of ears hearing everything you're doing, as far as when you read like a commercial script, a narration script, and that's super important. So that's step 3, voiceover coaching, highly recommended. And by the way, you don't really have to know which genre that you want to go into, because this is like, for example, at UVT Coaching, and Rob and I are coaches for UVT Coaching. Sometimes people don't know what the hell they want to do until they're like halfway through the process. And a lot of times there's a surprise. I mean, I've worked with people that just wanted to work on like medical narration, right? I've got a great voice for like e-learning narration, which more times than not, they do. But it's always pretty cool when halfway through the training process that we figure out that, that they can do video game characters. I worked with a guy, we were so bored working with, we were working for medical copy until we were just blue in the face, 10 coaching sessions of nothing but medical copy. And I'm like, John, I'm getting pretty fried out on this content. How about you? And he says, yeah, I'm getting pretty fried out on this content. The coaching was going great, but I'm like, you know what? Whether you like it or not, I'm going to throw you a video game character script. And wouldn't you know it, he had this talent kind of bottled up inside, and the dude could do like 15 different characters. And then, Rob, guess what he went on to do? Character work.
Medical narration.
Yeah. He still does do medical narration, but what a nice surprise, because if you don't really know what you're good at, that's another reason that going through a series of coaching sessions will really help. Now, there's nothing wrong with knowing what you want to do, because there are people that say, well, I'd really like to do commercials and that kind of thing. But Rob, I don't know when you got started. I had no idea. I was kind of like one of those guys, and we hear this all the time. Oh, I want to do cartoons. I was one of the guys that wanted to do cartoons. I had no idea what e-learning narration was, or theme park promo, or radio imaging, or explainer video narration. I mean, what the hell is all that? I want to do cartoons. And my niche, after many, many years, became commercials, e-learning narration, and theme park promos for amusement parks all over the country. Briefly, Rob, what would you say that your niche is in voiceover?
For me, predominantly, it's commercial and a little bit of narration, but mostly commercial radio, TV spots, some imaging things, radio imaging, but and a little bit of narration. But yeah, I stick with commercial. That's what I wanted to do from the beginning. Was I wanted to do radio commercials and TV commercials. I wanted to be the voice in some familiar brand. I never really wanted to be a character actor or get into voice acting or anime or anything like that. I always just wanted regular commercial stuff.
Awesome. Well, it's so much fun because I think too, some people can get intimidated because they think they have to do all this production work when they do voiceover. And now we're kind of in the era now where, all you have to do is record your voice because there's somebody on the other end, aka your client, or something you book through your talent agent, where they do all the production on their end. So it's not like you have to sit there and add background music and different beds of sound effects and be more of like a producer. If you can learn those skills, that's great, because you can charge more money for producing the commercial as opposed to just voicing it. But I don't get a lot of those requests like I did in the old days. They're just like, yeah, we just want your voice, uncompressed, raw, don't put any processing on it. Please don't put any reverb on it. And then you send it to the client and they have somebody on their end to produce. Now, by the way, if you have questions, all voiceover related, go ahead and throw them in the chat. Cassie will collect those, and then we'll do a little Q&A at the very end of the presentation. And then, of course, we're going to play the entire B-side of Men at Work, Business as Usual. No. All right. Step 4, voiceover demos. Demos are your calling card. This is the voice actor's best marketing tool by far. It's the equivalent of having a headshot if you're an on-camera actor. You have to have something to present an agent or a direct client. The first thing anybody is ever going to ask you for when you're making any kind of inquiry about voiceover work is, hey, can you send me your demo? And you don't want to be caught red-handed without one, because I know there's a lot of people that call into talent agents and they want to get on the rosters. I'm like, it's absolutely impossible to do that without a professional demo. And I wouldn't recommend doing one yourself unless you're just doing voiceover as a hobby. But if you actually want to make a living doing this and get on talent agency rosters and you want to be taken seriously, you definitely have to make that investment into a demo. And a good demo, I'll just say commercial demo. We do demos of all sorts at UVT. Character demos, e-learning narration, radio. Rob does a killer radio imaging demo. We're going to hear a clip from that in just a moment. But commercial demos should be right around a minute 20 max, with about 5 or 6 clips showcasing the talent's versatility and range. A lot of variety is definitely required in a demo, because that's how you get on talent agency rosters. You know why? Because you're going to make your agent money, because they take 10% of whatever you book. And the more variety that you can showcase on a demo, the higher your booking percentage will be. Where people tend to struggle, struggle is kind of a dramatic word, but maybe they don't book as much because they're more of like a one-note talent, where every clip on the demo sounds a little too similar. Talent send Rob and I demos to review all the time, and we're more than happy to always do that. But that tends to be one of the biggest problems with a voiceover demo. Not only the audio quality can be subpar, to put it lightly, but every single clip on the demo sounds like it's the same performance. So it doesn't even matter the script, it's just the same read. So that's why coaching is so vital up front, to make sure that you get those performance skills up to par, so that we work towards the demo. I think this is the next slide. I'd like to play a voiceover sampler of different demos that we have done here at UVT. Now, this is a little lengthy, so be patient with it, and I think you'll find it quite entertaining. It's a combination of a commercial demo and a lot of character stuff, too. And then at the very end, we have a radio imaging demo that will be sampled at the very end. And before we even start this, Rob, very briefly, tell us what radio imaging is.
Radio imaging is the noisy bits between songs, the stuff that transitions from a commercial going into a block of songs, or if one song is upbeat and the next one's down tempo, it transitions into it's all the noisy stuff that lets you know what the station is that you're listening to, or what the DJ is that you're listening to. It's the sonic branding of a station. That's basically it.
And if you can get on like a retainer contract, Rob, with like a radio station or two, what I like about being on a retainer is you get paid every month, no matter if you're working or not. And that's
the way it works.
I love it, man. That's what I'm on with theme park promos. There'll be a couple of months that go by. I don't even hear from the client, but it's a retainer contract, so they still have to pay me. And I know that's the way that radio imaging works as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody wants to work, for each job that you're doing, because sometimes you're doing 10, 15 jobs in a week. So they just say, let's pay you X amount of dollars per month and for, X number of spots. And that's the way it works. I love it. So whether they use me or not, they're paying me. And sometimes they use me more and sometimes they use me less, but it's major convenience for billing and all that stuff.
Yeah, it all evens out for sure. So what I want you to listen for in this demo sampler is the variety, starting off with Rebecca Lee, who's a national voice actor who lives out in LA. And trust me, you hear her on television all the time. Listen to the transitions on this first demo and the variety and the production. And then that'll kind of transition into some video game character stuff. So enjoy this, a UVT demo sampler, and then we'll come back and talk about it after this. Boy, that worked great.
Is it working? No, I'm not hearing it.
Oh, here we go.
The grins and giggles they let out as soon as the lotion touches their skin are magical. Soft skin with so many smiles. Aveeno Baby Lotion. It's that time of the year again. Time for the kiddos to continue stocking up on knowledge. Make sure they're ready to learn and visit Target for all your back-to-school needs. That's not just your head of hair, sis. That's your statement. Your introduction when you enter the room. Make it profound, memorable, extraordinary. Make it with Oyen Handmade. They say one person's trash is another person's treasure. Doesn't that mean it was always a treasure?
These are amazing.
I'm so happy right now.
Visit threadup.com to add some flavor to your closet. With brand name clothing at prices you won't believe. Why settle for biting into a chocolate-covered cherry when we've given you the chance to drink one? Sexual Chocolate Red. Available at Total Wine.
We've lost too many to just give up. We must keep fighting if we want to live in a world free of this evil and hate. Who's with me? You must ride due east for 3 days until a large waterfall will show its beauty where the sun sets. At first light, you must fire the arrow of hope into the waterfall and kill the beast that lives there once and for all. What could you possibly have to offer me, peasant? This armor is fit for a true warrior, not some lost little boy like you. War is horrific. It will change your life in ways you cannot imagine. Being prepared for battle is one thing, boys, but being excited for it is a feeling you should never have. You heed these words and you never forget them. It's the little things in life that really matter, I tell you what. The constant belly rubs and ear scratches. And oh boy, the food that Timmy drops me from the kitchen table at dinner time. Oh, what a life.
We love the music.
If it's the greatest hits you hear in the car, it can only be Q105 FM, Atlanta's best music. Listen to the Eagle weekdays for a chance to win $1,000. $1,000.
Enter a bunch of legal mumbo jumbo right here that basically says the same thing. Just listen to the Eagle Monday through Friday between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. for a chance to win $1,000. Void where prohibited. Your mileage may vary. Don't forget to floss, eat your vegetables.
Music that doesn't suck. Z-Rock 103. Download our free app and take K-Rock with you wherever you go.
Except maybe not to a funeral. That's kind of awkward.
What, the truth? You can't handle the truth. The truth is that Mix 107 plays the most hits, more than any other station. Oh, wait, that's not what you were asking about? My bad. More music on the way.
Q93.3.
I had the radio on. I was driving. Wow. If that doesn't paint a picture, I don't know what does. Dan on the morning show has been working out for a marathon.
All right, it's a Netflix marathon, but that still counts, right?
Dan and George, weekdays, The Beat 93.
Whoa, this dump is creepy. Dude, we should totally scare the girls. Quick, I'll hide upstairs. You go to the basement. Go!
Once you've made landfall in Schwarzwald, your objectives will be to cripple their production line and neutralize the defector, Hans Fiedler.
All right, so there is a kind of a quick sampler of what a professional demo should sound like. And Rob, I mean, everybody on that demo reel is fantastic, but the how about the transitions between not only Rebecca's commercial clips and then Tom Cat's characters?
Tomcat is so amazing. His voice is he's able to he's a chameleon. He's able to transform his voice so much. I mean, it's almost like a spot on Daffy Duck. I know he's not going for Daffy with that one thing, but it just is so perfect. Then he's got like kind of a Gandalf type of a voice, and then that Cockney English accent. He's just so good. He's so good.
And definitely be great. If you're going to put like accented characters on your demo, make sure that you're really, really good at them, because a lot of people can do accents. And I've heard a lot of accents that are kind of just okay, but Tom just knocks them out of the park. And by the way, you can do a great character demo without doing an accent. Tom just happens to be pretty sensational at them, not to mention with the variety of different characters. All right, step 5, voiceover website. You need a place to park the demos, right? So what I recommend with a voiceover website is a user-friendly one-page site. It does not have to be anything fancy. Clients aren't looking to be entertained with this 6-7 page extravaganza of voiceover, blah, 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 where you got all these videos of everything. I've seen websites where, it was a voice actor, and she also had a pet grooming business, and she combined them both on one website. Don't do that. You're going to screw up the SEO on it. Plus, it's going to be very confusing to a client. So if you have multiple businesses, you need one website for each. But very important, a one-page site where the demos are right there above the fold. If a client takes more than a couple of minutes to find your demo, and I see this all the time because I go and peruse around Google looking for voice actor websites just to see what everybody's up to. And Rob, if it takes me longer than a couple of minutes to find the demo, I go on to the next person, and that's what clients do.
Yeah, there's some simple rules to building a website for a voice actor. Your demo is your calling card, right? It's your headshot, so it should be front and center. What they say, above the fold, and it shouldn't automatically play. That's terrible. But you should be able to click on it you should be able to find it and click on it with one mouse click, and download it in 2.
Absolutely, and it doesn't have to be. I've seen websites where, you go on the site and it's this dark website where golden gates open up. It's this like 3D virtual. I don't know how much money this person spent on the site, but that's too crazy. And sometimes clients can't even open the damn thing up on their laptop at work. So keep it very, very simple. Clients do not want the feel of being dropped in the middle of a jungle to find all of your information. And that's sometimes a lot of these websites out there are just a little too busy. User-friendly, one-page site is all you need. All right, let's talk about voiceover recording gear because we did already talk about the importance of learning the skills first. Again, learn how to interpret copy, read copy, just like the voice actors that you hear on TV and radio. But eventually, you're going to need some gear, right? We always try to tell people that, you know, microphones, preamps, it's kind of like driving a car. They all kind of do the same thing, but everybody likes a certain type, right? The Rode mics are decent starter mics, Rob, and we like the Focusrite interfaces that they're not necessarily going to break the bank, but nothing is really more important, and I think Rob will agree with me on this, than the treatment of the room that you're recording in, because
Absolutely.
none of the equipment you're going to buy is going to do anything if you sound like you're in the middle of a gym. Rob?
I'm a big fan of the Rode NT1, not the NT1A, but the NT1 microphone. It's hugely underrated for quality. It's just a fantastic mic. But you can have a $3,500 microphone in an untreated room, and it's still going to sound like crap. You know, it's the room, it's the environment that the microphone is in. In fact, the more expensive the microphone, the more important it is that the room treatment is correct. Because I could, you know, it's all about how the sound bounces off the walls and comes back to the mic. And the expensive mics are super sensitive and can pick up, you know, they can pick up a roach farting in the walls 2 doors down. So it's important. It's important that you build your environment around the microphone. Build the studio. It's the acoustics that are a most important part.
Yeah, and it's this is an MK416 shotgun mic, and I didn't start with this mic. You don't need a big expense. This is a spendy mic, but it's kind of my dream mic. You know, you can start with the Rode mic. Now, Rob, you mentioned the Rode NT1 is better than the Rode NT1A. What makes the NT1 better than the NT1A?
I knew you were going to ask me about that. I've heard them side by side, and the NT1 has a warmer sound. It's a more flat present or more flat response over the entire spectrum, and the circuitry. I mean, the company Rode. I don't know how they got away with this, but they basically stole Neumann's design for the Neumann U87.
Yeah.
The Rode NT1 is almost identical to the Neumann U87, but it's what, $250 instead of 3,000, and it's just something about the quality of that thing. It's built like a tank. It'll last for decades, and it just has a very good solid presence, nice warm tone to it. Little sensitive, but really good quality mic. It really underrated.
And the Focusrite, like the Scarlett 2i2, I like the 8i8A a little bit better, but my only issue with them, and they work great for voiceover, so this is just a minor complaint, is they don't really push out a lot of phantom power. You really have to crank that gain up to get kind of a regular. I mean, then you have to normalize the audio where if you have like one of the UA preamps, like Rob and I have, like the Apollo Twin. I mean, it's a very powerful preamp where you don't have to crank the gain. But I mean, they're serviceable, they're professional. I wouldn't call them fantastic.
The Focusrite, Scarlett Focusrite makes some amazing preamps, and really all a preamp is doing is taking the electrical signal from the microphone, converting it into a digital signal, and spitting it into your computer. So we talk about the 2i2 and the 8, the 8 by that you have. That's just the number of inputs that it has. There's a Focusrite makes a Focusrite Solo. It's one input because that's all you really need, unless you're doing a duet with somebody in your booth. Who does that? I mean, you just need one input. And it works great, and they're solid, dependable. But you are right; they need a little bit more in the gain area, and then that increases your noise floor. That creates a little bit of a problem. But when you're first starting out, they're solid. You can drop them from 10 feet up and not worry about them getting damaged. They're just good, dependable pieces of equipment. Scarlett makes some really good stuff. Focusrite makes some good stuff.
Rob, why are you pretending like you and I haven't recorded Islands in the Stream in your booth together? Why are you hiding that information, Rob Marley?
I'm actually working on Islands in the Stream right now on the ukulele. I've got the chords all set up and stuff like that. So, but no, I'm not a singing person. I'm a playing person.
What's funny, Rob and I, late in our lives now have gotten into instruments now. I picked up the piano after a 45-year hiatus, and Rob and I on the internet we're learning how to play Hurt, the Johnny Cash version that was made famous, of course, by Nine Inch Nails. And Rob plays the ukulele part, and I try to sing it and put in a little keyboard.
Well,
it's just like a couple of old farts, like having fun. You like learning instruments for the first time ever, right?
When you think of Nine Inch Nails, you automatically think of the ukulele. So it was just it was a no-brainer for me.
The ukulele. That's why there was a lot of Pearl Jam fans disappointed when Eddie Vedder came to the Orpheum and played with his ukulele.
I didn't realize he has a whole album of ukulele songs, and they're really good. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, a lot of those songs was in that movie Into the Wild, where he did a lot of the songs on that soundtrack, and that's where he first started kind of playing the ukulele. But good stuff on recording gear. Again, if you have questions voiceover related, just type them in the chat, and we'll try to get to as many of them as humanly possible at the very end of the class. And I think we'll even have more time tonight to do Q&A, because it's always fun to hear from you guys as well. So yeah, step 6, voiceover recording gear. And by the way, you don't have to be great at any of it right away. It can be very overwhelming for those of you that have never worked with like recording software, for example, like Audacity, Adobe Audition, Pro Tools, Cubase, whatever you're using. Rob, you're using Audition, I think, right?
Yeah, I use Adobe Audition, but sometimes when I'm on the road, I use Audacity, so I don't have to get connected to the internet to do it. Audacity works just as well, and it's free.
Yeah, it's free. And by the way, there's a lot of pros around the world that still use the freebie DAW, Audacity. So don't get misled by some of these bloggers out there that try to tell you, well, if you want to be looked at as a professional voice actor, you need Pro Tools. That's just a sack of shit. They all do the same thing. It's all about your gear and the room that you're recording in. It doesn't, the recording software has nothing to do whatsoever with the audio and the sound that you're getting. So I just want to get that out of the way. And it's really a comfort zone thing. And it's going to, it's going to be a work in progress. Don't get all flustered if you haven't figured out what every drop-down menu does, within the first day of downloading Adobe Audition, because I swear to God, I'm still learning how certain thing. I mean, it's very overwhelming. Pro Tools is even worse, but
the nice thing is that with all of this stuff, just picking Audacity, for example, it's a little intimidating when you first fire it up because there's all these things that are going on the desktop, but it's been around forever, and YouTube is your friend. There's always, if you needed to know anything about how to do something, chances are there's a tutorial on how to do it step by step just on YouTube. It's easy to learn.
And remember, with voiceover, you're not going to use half of the stuff that you're looking on the drop-down menus. It's not like you have to. That's really more for production and bands and music, where you just all these different. I mean, I use a lot of it because I do demo production for UVT. But in fact, I'm kind of a plug-in addict. I can't.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. I probably have 100 compressors and 8 limiters, and I keep, but now I finally have a set that I really, really like. So I don't buy plugins anymore, but yeah, they can be it's very easy to go down that rabbit hole. Get addicted to performance. That's what you got to get addicted to when you're first starting off, because you want to impress that talent agent with your ability to read a commercial script or a character or e-learning. You've heard me say e-learning a little bit here, and I want to touch on that just a little bit more. E-learning really hit its peak when the pandemic year of 2020 took place, and it really hasn't let up yet. There's a lot of educational products where they need voiceover. I do a lot of that stuff for 3M, General Mills, Boston Scientific, which, by the way, those are all direct clients that I got from making a simple cold call, which leads us into step 7, voiceover marketing. How do I get the work? Well, you have to go out and get it, because we are no longer living in the 70s where people have heard rumors about your golden voice and they're going to deliver a pot of gold to your door. That's just not going to happen anymore. You got to go out and get the agents. You got to get the clients. Now, where Rob and I have had a lot of success, 80% of my annual income comes by way of working with the client direct. I love my agents, but I get more work reaching out to prospective buyers. Now, this could be the director of a video production department in a corporation, AK 3M, General Mills, Boston Scientific. You may not realize it, but big corporations that you live next to, they have in-house production studio where they produce tons of materials that need voiceover help, training modules for employees, rules and regulations of the company. Or with 3M, they're building, inventing, and developing products every day that they need promotional work for. That's where we come in because we do the voiceover. But you have to reach out and contact these people. Now, what really works for me is I will storm the internet looking for directories, information, and then I'll start like a spreadsheet via like Google Docs. I am not a Microsoft man. I hate PowerPoint. I like the Google Docs. I like Google everything. And then I start making a list. And then what I do is I will send an email. Let's say I found a really good lead. So I will send an email to the contact person and basically briefly tell them who I am and why I'm getting in touch, but I'm not going to give them my life story. I'm not going to attach my demos to the email. That's far too intrusive for the first step in contact, right? All I use email for is to get an appointment with the client. I want a live meeting, whether it's in person locally or it's over the phone or over Zoom, because that's when I'm going to sell myself. The demo is important and they're going to get a copy of it sooner or later, but the email is really for setting up a consultation. And I always end the email with a question like, hey, does Thursday at 4 p.m. work okay for you? Question mark. Now they feel compelled to answer the email as opposed to letting them off the hook and saying, thanks, Rob. Have a nice day. Well, now you just let them off the hook.
That's absolutely that's the trick is you never want to say, here's my demo, thanks for your consideration, because you've ended the conversation. You're trying to start the conversation. So ask a question and people will feel compelled to answer back. Hey, do you keep a roster of talent? How do I get on the team? That kind of a thing will encourage somebody to reply back to you more than thanks for your consideration.
Yeah, and don't attach anything. It can be very aggravating to the person on the other side. I had somebody 2 weeks ago sent me like 25 WAV files of like samples that they did of something. I think some of them were impressions, and I'm like, I mean, I could smell the smoke coming from my computer. It almost nearly blew up for trying to open up this email. And you should never do WAV at all unless the producer that you're working with really wants a WAV file. Then you should like share a Dropbox or something with that producer, because trying to send these WAV files, which sometimes are almost a gigabyte, that doesn't work. That doesn't work very well with regular email.
Everything I do right now is through Dropbox. I have it set up so that it's just a file directory on my computer. And so I just save to that particular job's folder, and I could be anywhere in the world. And if the client says, hey, can you send me that file again? I can do it from my phone and just send them the link. You don't want to send attachments, and WAV files are uncompressed audio. So it's the full spectrum. So yeah, you want to be using MP3s as much as possible, but keeping it all in the cloud makes it much more convenient, and you don't have to worry about a hard drive crash and killing everything that you've got.
And once you have your demos too, definitely look up, there's hundreds of talent agents across the country and even overseas. Start checking them out. And then you'll see, I don't have a screenshot of it today. I've done it in other presentations, but most every talent agency website has a representation page. That's the page you want to click on, because they'll have you fill out a little form, and then you'll attach an MP3 of your demo to be considered for representation And you really have to make sure, because I trust me, everybody on their roster has a kick-ass demo. So this isn't just something you can slap together by plugging a USB mic into your computer and finding scripts from the Edge Studio library practice script. God, there's even, Rob, did you know there's demo mills that even steal from the
Yeah.
Edge Studio library for their demos? I mean, that doesn't get any more dumpster fire than that.
Yeah, there's a lot of shady operators out there that that steal old copy. They steal somebody's old commercial or listen to somebody's demo and steal the copy from that. No, I mean, to do it the right way, you need to have a coach that's writing the script specifically for you,
right,
based off of your skills that you have. If you're good at conversational, then there should be a conversational script right in the front. You know, that's the only way to go, because you want to showcase what you can do, not just read somebody else's commercial. I mean, you got to show off what you can do, and that's the thing. Like, you and I listen to demos all the time. These producers and these agents that you're sending stuff to, they can spot a homemade demo in a second, and you have maybe 3 to 5 seconds to win a person over before they're going to stop playing it and move on. So if you can't wow me in 3 to 5 seconds, I'm moving on to the next demo. It's just, and it's not, I'm sorry to be mean. It's not trying to be mean. That's just the way, that's the way business works.
The business, man. You got to have thick skin for sure. And you have to have patience and perseverance, which is step 8 here. Again, you can't expect miracles right away. Now, we've had a lot of students that have gone on to get work relatively quickly, but then we've had a lot of students where it's taken a while, and you have to kind of let the process work. I mean, you got to start by marketing, and then you have to, kind of wait for the phone calls to be returned and the emails. And sometimes that takes a lot of time, but I'm here to tell you right now that you don't need 100 clients to make a good living doing voiceovers. If you have like 8 to 10 clients that are using you on a regular basis, that's all you need. I mean, I probably have like 6 or 7 right now, regular. And then, some people come in here and there, and then they come back for a second project, and then I don't hear from them again in 5 years. And by the way, there's no such thing as a dead lead. So just because they don't need you right now, I mean, Rob, has this happened to you where you get a phone call or an email from somebody that you actually forgot that you marketed to, and then 5 years later, they're like, "Hey, we finally have something for you"?
I got an email out of the blue from someone that said, "All right, here's an audition. Have it back to me by Friday." And I went, "Cool. Who are you?" and I had to look through their email address, and it was somebody that I had marketed to for 4 years. 4 years.
4 years.
Never hearing back from them. I would send emails out and never hear back. Just send an email, never hear back. "Hey, I'm just checking in." Never heard back. All of a sudden, out of the blue, they send me this audition. I scrambled and sent it right back, and I ended up getting the job, which was a really nice paying gig for a while. So you don't want to just send it once and then move on. The idea is, and I tell this to all my students, it's like, be consistent and persistent with your marketing.
Absolutely. And the only way, that I would maybe remove them from the list if they just told me that we're not doing videos anymore or whatever, where we don't need voice actors. But, unless they tell me to F off on the phone, I've had that happen. No, that's never been that intense. But yeah, and it's fun to market yourself. It's not like you're selling insurance or, going door to door selling somebody a fire extinguisher. It's fun to market your voice, and having a conversation and telling the client how your voice can help them move product or, reinvent their business or help improve business. And you really learn a lot from these like consultations with clients, because it's fun to kind of get to know them and learn a little bit about their business. And one quick thing, and I'm kind of going backwards a little bit, when you're on the phone with if you're on a consultation with a prospective client, let them do all the talking. You don't, I mean, they're taking your call, so they're obviously interested, right? You don't have to go on and on and on how it was your dream to become a voice actor and how fantastic your voice is. Your job is to be the interviewer. You ask the client questions about their business, show an interest in their business, bring up something really cool that you saw on their website, or maybe you stopped in their store and then you brought up, hey, I really like that A, B, and C products, you show an interest in their business, and that conversation is going to last for more than a couple of minutes, right? All right, step 9, taking the leap. Sometimes that can be just as difficult as taking the first step, right? We all deal with fear and insecurity and trepidation, where it's like, oh, what if I fail at this? I don't know what I'm getting into, spending money here and there, and sometimes you just, I mean, I took the leap because I have radio to thank, because I got so tired of Clear Channel and CBS radio at the time. They kind of drove me into voice acting full time because in the later years of radio, Rob, it felt like I was working for an insurance company and not a fun radio station. So at that point,
Yeah.
I had about 5 clients, and I'm like, you know what? I'm really close now to just kind of packing my bags, because I have enough to actually pay my bills right now because of these clients, and I haven't really looked back since. So
I
it's
hear that a lot
a
with
tremendous career.
I hear that a lot with radio guys, DJs and stuff like that. It's like the soul is gone from radio. You're beholden to a corporate entity, some dude behind a desk in New Jersey that's programming for 100 stations across the country, and you have no control over what's played and when. And so here's the same Miley Cyrus song 3 times an hour or whatever, and no one gets to play their own music anymore. Independent radio stations are so rare now. So and a lot of DJs they've lost the heart. They don't want to do it anymore.
I can't do it, man. I can't even listen to FM radio. I mean, I have every song ever recorded right here on vinyl. So, I've got more variety here. Why would I listen to the same 6 songs on an FM radio station? I know we're going on a tangent and we're just jumping into another lane, but good stuff. We're going to get to your questions in just a moment here. This is officially step 10. Do me a favor, everybody. Right now, I want you to go to uvtvirtual.com. If you're on your laptop, phone, desktop, uvtvirtual.com. I'll have Cassie type it in the chat area too, so people can just
I already got it.
Click on it. All right. Go there. I want to tell you about a really cool program that UVT has developed for brand new voice actors who are on a budget and they just want to kind of learn how to do voiceover on their own. Let's talk about what this is. Here we go. That's what the website looks like. So UVT Virtual, it's a self-paced video training series, but it also includes like 3 live voiceover classes a month. And for those of you that are UVT Virtual members who are on the call, feel free to share your experience in the chat with what you've gotten out of UVT Virtual. So it's for aspiring voice actors on a budget who kind of want to learn the business of VO. You can take the training at your own convenience, wherever and whenever you like. We send a brand new, exclusive, detailed training video out every other week, and we do 3 live classes a month. How do you start a voiceover business? How do you read a commercial script? How to set up a home voiceover recording studio? How do you find the clients? How to turn your audition into a booking? What exactly do you need on a voiceover demo? What do you charge for a demo? These are all training videos that have been produced by coaches of UVT Coaching. Rob does a couple of excellent ones that are in the UVT Virtual portal. And there's some testimonials there that you can take a look at, some FAQ for any questions. And this is a membership, an exclusive membership program, and it's $30 a month for 3 live classes every month and endless training videos every other week. Now, here's the beauty of it. If you're a UVT virtual member for a few months and you just kind of decide, this really isn't for me, or it wasn't what I thought it was going to be like, you can cancel anytime. You're not locked into a 50-year contract, when you sign up tonight. You can always get out of it. We hope you stick with it, because we're always doing new things in classes, and there's constantly brand new videos being produced. So do me a favor, click that Join Now button and sign up for UVT Virtual tonight. We really want you guys to sign up for this. And we're going to throw some bonuses if you sign up right now. What are the bonuses? You get a free one-on-one voiceover coaching session with a UVT coach, a bonus 60-minute voiceover marketing course, and Rob and I will review some auditions for you. We'll provide the script. We'll do it virtually over email, and all of that comes only if you sign up tonight. If you sign up tomorrow or Saturday, you don't get the free coaching session. You don't get the marketing course. So $30 a month for UVT Virtual. Hit that Join Now button. It is a tremendous program. Because, Rob, before, we didn't really have something like this for the raw beginner who was on a budget, who just wanted to kind of get their feet wet to see what voiceover is all alike. And honestly, I wish something like this would have been around when I got started in the 90s.
I totally agree, man. The technology has made it so much easier to learn anything. Like music and the ukulele and the guitar. I wish I had this when I was first getting started in voiceover. It's just super convenient. And the UVT virtual stuff is great because it's kind of like you're dipping your toe in the water and you're learning without having to jump in head first and spend a lot of money and a lot of time on gear and all that stuff. The one thing that UVT virtual doesn't offer is the actual one-on-one stuff, but everything that you're learning is all the stuff that we teach in the one-on-one classes. So it's a great way to get started to learn as much as possible. I always tell people, be a sponge, absorb as much as you can from as much information as you can from the UVT virtual stuff. And when you think you got a good handle on how it all works, let's start working on building your actual skills. And that's when you reach out to myself or to you and get some one-on-one coaching. But if you can't afford it right now, the UVT virtual stuff is great. I really wish I would totally have spent $30 a month to learn all this stuff.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
Click uvtvirtual.com, hit the Join Now button, and sign up tonight. You'll get the bonuses. So we are going to get to some Q&A here in just a couple of minutes. If you have questions voiceover related, just type them in the chat, and we will go to Cassie in just a second here.
It's time. Let's party!
For the UVT voiceover webinar Q&A.
Oh my God. It's like a radio imaging spot.
I know, it totally is. Totally. And by the way, my first demo, Rob, was on that very cassette in the corner.
Oh man. I think I had one on cassette too. I don't want to admit it, but yeah, I had one too.
I had the worst do-it-yourself demo. I recorded it on a Panasonic boombox in the late 80s, where I would pick like newspaper and magazine clippings, like the advertisements in those publications. And I would just read the ads. No production, nothing. Oh my God, I would pay $1,000 to hear that demo again. Unbelievable, man. All right. So, Cassie, do we have some questions waiting for us?
We do. Rob's been really good at keeping up with a lot of the answers, though.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Cassie.
I've
been kind of like stealing your work there, but I've been answering as we go. So
I'll take it because that actually helps out. But if I accidentally step on your toes, just let me know. We've got Evie Lit to everyone. When doing a commercial, is it possible to ad-lib 1 or 2 words, or must you read the script as exactly written?
That's a great question. It really depends on the client. If you're doing like character related work, many times they will allow like improv, because all it does is add to the character. And sometimes they'll even use what you made up in the final piece. I've had that happen. It's not super popular if you're just recording like e-learning narration or even like a TV or radio commercial. I mean, occasionally when you do a fun spot, they might just let you add a line in, but that's a great question, because usually anything character related, they're pretty open to giving us voice actors creative liberty. So that's a great question. What else?
Right. I've got about 17 questions here, but Stephen asked, I once went to a voice coach who said I had a nice guy voice, which could be limiting. Is it okay to be so nice?
I think it's great to be nice, because authentic voiceovers is where it's at. That's been the hot trend in commercial work for the last 10 or 15 years, that conversational guy or girl next door type read. Now, I mean, does it help to also be able to, pull off like an authoritative read or something a little more aggressive? Well, sure. But if you listen to a lot of commercials on television, you'll notice that they all have that signature conversational tone. So I think it's a huge bonus that you have one of those Mr. Nice Guy friendly voices. I don't think there's no cons, Rob, into having that kind of a voice.
There's a guy, Mark Elliott. He was an announcer, a VO guy for Disney for 40 years. I used to love to give him a hard time because he had the happiest, just saccharine, just super sweet, happy voice. If you watched any Disney video in the last 40 years, you heard him at the beginning, coming to Disney Home Video. And it was just this big toothy grin. And I love to roll my eyes at him, but the dude booked constantly. I mean, he worked for Disney forever, and it's that sound. I said it was super sweet and sickening, but Disney heard it as welcoming. It's like you're throwing your doors open. You're saying, "Come on in, welcome. Check us what we have here." And Mark Elliott worked for Disney for a long time. So yeah, he's a classic nice guy.
Awesome, man.
You're
Cassie, what's the next one?
We'll
try to get most of these in. We might not be able to get to all of them, but we'll see what we can do in the next 5 minutes or so.
Okay. Stephen also asked, seems like coaches are a dime a dozen. How can you differentiate between good and bad coaches?
Well, I would really pay close attention and take the ones who actually book work seriously, because there's a lot of coaches that just started coaching yesterday and they just started doing voiceovers yesterday. So you got to be really, really careful. It's definitely something that you need to vet. We see a lot of ads. Rob and I make fun of them all the time on Facebook. There's tons of snake oil being slung all over the internet. Slang. Am I pronouncing?
I will say, like I said it in the comments, a good way to find a coach is to find a voice talent that's working in the industry that you want to work in. Say you want to work in voice acting. Say you want to work in anime and video games or whatever. Talk to one of those voice actors and say, who was your coach? Who did you use? And they'll steer you in the right direction, so you're not dealing with these fly-by-night guys that, are a dime a dozen. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that want to coach, but not a lot of them are really good. You want to find the ones that are booking consistently and having their talent book consistently.
I mean,
so
it's
reach
a
out
huge
to the
benefit.
talent.
I'm not saying that there's not great teachers out there, but if I was starting over again, I would want to work with a coach who was booking regularly. There are huge benefits to that. And by the way, there's a dime a dozen of everything. I mean, look at sports coaches and music coaches and piano teachers and ukulele teachers and SEO teachers. There's instructors everywhere. So it's not just voiceover where there's instructors that are a dime a dozen. But yeah, definitely look into the ones who are actually booking work. So Cass?
Yeah.
All right. Anton asked, and if I mispronounced your name, I'm sorry. How do you figure out what your voice is best suited for?
Well, sometimes you don't know. That's why when you go through a series of coaching sessions, your coach will kind of help you decide like what your possible future niche will be. Now, it might take a little time to figure out what that is. Some people, again, have an idea of what they think they can do and what they're going to be good at. And like I said at the beginning of the call, I didn't even know what e-learning was when I got started. I just wanted to do cartoon voices, and I ended up doing a bunch of educational products and then theme park promos. I didn't even know there were voices for roller coasters. By the way, here's a little sample of that. Please keep your hands and feet inside the car until the ride comes to a complete stop.
Félmele centavos, por favor.
Yes.
Would I be able to say something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Two things. I worked on a radio. I did a radio interview with York University for a Juno Award-winning artist,
Yeah.
and so I had that up on YouTube. And also, when I was like, I'm a little nervous, so whatever my voice sounds like, whatever. But I also, when I was pursuing something with CBC, the guy who worked there, Havoc Franklin, I was just trying to get a job in a library, and he says, "Have you thought about doing radio?" And at the time, I dismissed it, and now, in retrospect, I would, I think, look at it. I wish I had continued that conversation with him.
The one nice thing about working in radio is that it gives you confidence behind the mic, especially in radio, because you have to know how to talk. You have to know how to vamp, I mean,
right.
Somebody, it's like, okay, you got 30 seconds to fill, go. I mean, knowing what to say and how to say it, you start building mannerisms, you start learning a lot about your own voice. And that helps you to build that confidence behind the microphone that you can then use, outside of the radio station and start booking your own work.
All right. What else, Cass?
Oh, Anton, I'm sorry. Well, we got to move on, but
yeah, we
hit
got
me
to
up
move
afterwards
on.
if you need to. Yeah.
Hopefully you guys don't mind. We're just going to go a little overtime tonight, if that's cool with you.
What a surprise.
I know.
I was to say, when this is not.
We're never on time, but I would like to get at least a couple more questions in, and then we can say goodnight.
I got you covered. I was to say, there's 17, so I'll email you the rest. Shirley asks, how difficult is it to do character voiceover?
It's difficult if you're going to do like animation for like Pixar or Disney, that's a tough nut to crack. But there's so much character work in anime, explainer video, every character. I don't do a ton of character, but I do kind of a handful or a splash every year, and it's all explainer video. Like, the nerdy math teacher teaching kids math, or, they're using a lot of animated characters in explainer videos. So it's not just voicing cartoons. Maybe you want to be the voice of a toy, Rob. Our good friend Natalie Hitzel, which, by the way, she got all those gigs marketing to those companies direct. Do you remember when we had her on a webinar and I said, "Oh, who's your agent?" I'm like, "Oh, I get this work on my own." That's just amazing.
Well, Natalie's great. It's knowing your voice. It's having some confidence in yourself and knowing what you can do. But honestly, the majority of like, if you're talking about like animation and video games, it's not necessarily like trying to take on the persona of some big crazy character. Most of the time they want real sounding people, and don't do somebody else's voice. Like, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, I'm really good, let me give you my impression of Mark Hamill's Joker. Well, all right, I've heard it, and if I wanted Mark Hamill's Joker, I would hire Mark Hamill. You come up with your own voice, your own unique sounds. And that's a little challenging, but it just takes some time on understanding how to flesh out that character to make it believable.
We got time for just a couple more, Cass. Let's just do two more. And then if you did not get your question answered, anybody can email me later to Terry, TERRY at UVTcoaching.com. But again, if you want to sign up for UVT Virtual, it's uvtvirtual.com. Sign up tonight to get all the bonuses, including the one-on-one coaching session and everything else we discussed. We'd really appreciate it. Cassie?
Right. Lucy asked, it's interesting, but I am French and have an accent when I'm speaking English. I'm not so sure if I should follow on this course.
Well, accent,
basically with the accent.
Yeah, there's a market for just about every dialect there is. Rob, you can touch on this a little bit. It's going to be a little more limited as far as if somebody wants somebody with the ultimate American accent, but there's a lot of work out there for people with accents.
Absolutely. I worked with I forget who it was. I worked with somebody today that has an English accent, and just
Oh, Susie.
It's just having an English accent kind of just creates that, like, ooh, it's sophisticated, because to an American ear, it's like, like Jaguar. No, Jaguar's never going to use an American sounding voice. No one that says Jaguar,
Right.
it's always Jaguar. It's three
Oh,
syllables.
yeah,
But
yeah, very
having an
posh.
accent can actually help you, especially if you're doing stuff that's in a particular region. Like if you have like a New York accent, that's not going to fly in California, but it works perfectly for the East Coast and sounding authentic, because that's authentically who you are. Having a French accent, I think that would work as long as you're American. The American English sounds easy to understand. If it's heavy dialect, it's going to be harder to find work. But if you can sound, if you can anglicize your voice, it's going to work really well for you.
One last question, and then we'll say goodnight. We really appreciate everybody hanging out and then hanging out with us a little bit later as well. Cass?
All right, we're going to go with Shirley. How much does ethnicity play into VO?
Rob?
I was just answering that. God, I can't remember the guy's name. He played Marvin in Pulp Fiction.
Oh God, it's on the tip of my tongue too.
Yeah. Oh well. All right. So he's done
Phil
voices.
Lamar.
Thank you. Phil Lamar. He's done a ton of character stuff, and I remember he said this in an interview that people were hemming and hawing about, like, they wanted to get a certain sound out of him, and they didn't know how to approach him because they didn't want to offend him. And he says, "Look, I love what I do. You guys pay me well. From Colin Powell to Snoop Dogg, where do you want me?" And it was perfect, and so, like, a person of color, they can give a more urban street vibe to their sound if they wanted to, or they can sound very clean cut, normal, flyover state kind of sound, and be able to adjust it. I think it makes you more versatile as a voice actor, because you can reach a broader range of genres.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of the voiceover webinar tonight. On behalf of Rob Marley and myself, thank you to Cassie Gold. And I appreciate everybody. And by the way, on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being awful, 10 being fantastic, what do you rate the webinar tonight? You don't have to say it, but you can just type it in the chat. We want to make sure that we get your feedback. Oh, Joy, I love you, Joy. 20. She gave us a 20.
20. Come on,
man. Awfully fantastic.
There's always room
I
for
love
improvement.
it. How's this, Rob? This is the best compliment ever. Awfully fantastic.
Awfully fantastic. My favorite
that's
is,
a good
it
review.
didn't suck.
Oh yeah. I think we've had that happen before, but all right. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate it. Sign up for UVT Virtual tonight. You won't regret it. UVTvirtual.com. Best way to get your feet wet in voiceover, and you're going to love the videos and the live classes, which, by the way, I didn't mention this earlier. We have one this Saturday at 10 a.m. Central Time. We're going to do a script performance class. We're going to work on a commercial script, character script, and have a whole bunch of fun. So if you sign up for UVT Virtual tonight, you'll be invited to that class already in a couple of days. Rob, thank you. Cassie, thank you. Everybody have a wonderful night, okay?
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.